photography. It was on a shot, but I'll just put them on play. I might give some commentary. Not really. It's not about the photography. But some commentary while I'm setting up. Blows air through the middle of the floor, leaves a person with a sense of bearing where they are. I find it very helpful. Some interesting shots on the screen there. That shot I think is between two others where I start to blur. I've taken a shot of the moon and a cyclist had just ridden through the shot as I was capturing the moon set over the river. And then I wanted to do some blur shots. And it's a little bit hard. There's the last of the moon. Oh yeah, in the corner of the screen there's a blurry cyclist, right? And so there's pure blur. You don't get every photo as a success. That's me putting my settings in and practicing. Probably a 2-second exposure at like f11 or f16, something that set the lens to not let the light through, arguably. And then you get that longer exposure time right on sunrise. So I had to go to a dark time of day and just doing the pan, 2 seconds, not on a tripod, just hand holding, and trying to keep the cyclist in the frame in the same spot while they go past. And so I get a lot of shots like this where they're not really anything. A lot of fun. Alright. One of you. Console is on, so I can turn that on. On while I first kit up. It saves me having to re-enter my area, so to speak. I don't retrain the system for foveated rendering each time I put the headset on. Probably should, because I don't always have it dialed in, so my eyes are spot in the middle. Alright, so this was some photography from before the last video I did. I didn't publish that video on the net, so this photography never made it up on the net. I haven't got to this morning's shots yet. The music's still a bit loud, so arguably I can keep going. We're not really here for photography, but I'd like to talk a little bit about manual settings, manual configuration versus automatic. And there was a shot I took this morning, probably second last shot I took before I came home, where the moon was beyond some trees, and if I'd gone for manual focus, it would have tuned for the tree branch before the moon. But because I was able to go manual, if I was in automatic mode, the camera would have gone, oh, we know the shot you want to take, it's the thing in front of the camera, obviously, and we'll tune for that. And the reality was I was trying to set the photo for something further afield, and so by being in manual settings I can dial my settings in and get the shot. So a lot of these shots, there's nothing particularly impressive about them, but each morrow I go out, I try to have a different subject, arguably. Not for the whole shooting time. When I first got into photography, that's what I'd do every day. Golden hour at the end of the day. Would run around for an hour and just try and capture, as a subject, the wind between the trees or the, dogs or something. I'd just go around and try and capture whatever it was I'd set myself out to do. And by forcing myself to take hard shots, I had to think creatively, how do I compose that? How am I going to capture that? Probably the best skill set I ever developed as a photographer was in those early days. Alright, so I've got all my lighting going. As far as I can figure, everything's ready to roll. Gonna need a hotspot or the game won't start. Shot of yesterday, I think. That there was at such low light that I like it's long exposure with everything. It's my first shot of this morning. This is the shot I'm really happy with. That's the sunrise. That's a worker on site before 6 o'clock. He's actually using a torch to shine onto the building because it's dark. It's dark outside. And I mean that's what you want when you're getting your house built, isn't it? Workers who turn up and before 6 o'clock they're working. Isn't that great? Right, so if I'd done a bit of prep before this video, my hotspot would be up, right? It's not. So I'm just going to put enough power into the phone so I can turn it on, put a hotspot up and get started. That last shot where I showed the moon, I'm shooting on a 24 megapixel camera. So if I doubled it in size, we'd have 12 megapixel to play with. If I doubled it in size again, we'd have 6 megapixel to play with. If I doubled it in size again, we'd have 3 megapixel to play with. Now that is 50% more than majority of the world's televisions can render. This particular TV can render 4 megapixels. So 3 megapixel means that I still wouldn't, I wouldn't have enough information in my photo if I zoomed the moon bigger, that every single pixel matched, right? But National Geographic, one of the world's best nature, reference magazines on anthropomorphism, I guess, study of the world, who cares? National Geographic, I don't know if they still print it. Secret Life of Walter Mitty kind of suggested that magazines like Time and everything are kind of left the days of print. But back when National Geographic did print, I have to talk louder. I know it's a dynamic microphone. It's automatic, it's not manual. I haven't dialed it in. So yeah, National Geographic, if you had a 4 megapixel image, was good enough for a full page. And that's going back quite a while ago. But the reality is 3 or 4 megapixels is a lot to work with on print sizes, more than most people ever print out at. So, I mean, I personally don't think none of these photos really stood out. Again, I'll come back to this one. There's not a lot of information in the shot. Like, if you actually looked at the histogram on the camera, right, I'm probably shooting at 3200, probably f2, yeah, and just, yeah, having to ramp the sensitivity of the sensor up so much just to capture just a little bit of colour, but I mean it looks good. Manual settings for the win. Alright, so I've got the hotspot up. So manual settings for the win is kind of the theme. I figured that on review of some of my videos when I do my talk while I'm playing, it would be good if I had an overarching topic and then kept feeding back to it whenever I wasn't doing my gaming. And that way, each video, maybe we learn about something along the way. That's a theory. Anyway, gaming time, eh? So it's been a good week for gaming. We had Rise of the Ronin come out, which isn't one that interests me. We had Dragon's Dogma 2 come out, which has probably been 25 years of waiting for that one. Okay, my controller power is too low. They're not just on one, but two. They're going to turn off. And I think it's because there's been a system update. I think because they're going to want a firmware update. It hasn't got enough power to firmware update. So I hadn't put my controllers on charge prior to recording this video, same as I do every time. I like to show the difficulties of gaming on a system, an ecosystem that's not PC. I would argue it's not that I'm against PC gaming, quite the opposite. I love PC gaming. I want PC gaming to be all it can be. It hasn't been that for a long time. Expect it just in case. Alright, so I am more or less ready to run with that. Okay, well my cat's fed. I'm ready to roll. Put 2 more seconds of charge on the controllers. I want to see if they really just lacked enough to turn on, or if they lacked half charge so they could firmware update. If that's the case, then Sony's put out a lock so that the equipment won't even turn on unless everything's at the latest version of firmware, which... Come on, big corporations, you pricks. If that's the case, if I go to start and I can't play my game until my controller is at half charge, not impressed. But, that's the ecosystem I'm in. I'm at the mercy of the big corporation. I can't even hit the something went wrong. Oh yeah, no, it turned them off and then... Okay, so specifically it said the left controller. So let's mix my music down. Alright, those at home probably heard no difference then. I dropped the music by a substantial amount, but because the microphones are recording dynamically, my voice now is maybe just a bit louder, even though I haven't raised it. But that's the nature of dynamics. This is what I wanted to say about manual versus automatic. And when I record these videos, and I can tell that music's too loud, I'm still competing against it. When I record these videos, the people at home, when they hear Legendary Tales music soundtrack, they're not going to have the dynamics, right? Because my recording setup will homogenise the peak and the low volume so that they're all kind of in the middle. And so we lose dynamism, right? So, look, I personally think my subwoofer's set probably a little bit, it's probably about 10 decibels up, right down in the 20 hertz mark. Right? I've actually got a proper subwoofer. It goes down to the teens for hertz, right? You know, you still get that 16 hertz low note on the pipe organ, or the 18 hertz. But look, probably 30 hertz down. I'm the opposite of every subwoofer, just about on the planet. I'm about 10 dB up, and then it kind of peaks out a little bit and then rejoins with the treble up high. And so if anything, I've got a scooped out mid bass, which is really easy. Every subwoofer out there does mid bass, right? They're not really subwoofers, right? If for us to afford subs or to dedicate the room space needed for a proper subwoofer, most consumers just can't afford them, right? So, you know, manual versus automatic settings, right? Calibration. If I'd gone manual setup, we could have dynamism in the music, we could have dynamism in the Legendary Tales soundtrack, so we don't have that. Anyway, that was a solid 30 seconds. Okay, the controller won't wake up until I unplug it off the charger. Right. it does. Just won't wake up. Okay, so now that I haven't got the headwear on, that's interesting. It won't even let me use the PlayStation buttons on those controllers to wake the console. In the top corner of the screen, you see that little strikeout button? That's me just trying to hit the PlayStation button on the middle of my controller, right? This is a fully locked up system. I can't hold that down. I can't do anything. It is. I think Sony's put out an update. It's trying to do dodgy shit in the background, and this is one of the first times I've ever locked my console up hardcore. Alright? Can't do anything with them. If I turn my VR on, they'll at least respond again. Oh, there we go. And the left one is low on charge. I'll agree. Doesn't look like it's costing me the game right now. Yay. But that answers my question. It doesn't appear to be it needed a firmware update. It just needed a bare minimal amount. I'm actually quite surprised that it got down as low as it had got. Been gaming in the last week. But yeah, okay, I hadn't checked it, hadn't charged it. Personally, it looks to me like there's enough to go on, but I'm going to give it 20 seconds more charge, and then I'm going to play until basically the thing turns off. That's the theory. Look, I've set my volume dial to about 8 o'clock on the volume dial. Of my 20 people who might watch my videos, they're not really watching my videos, they're watching Legendary Tales. Thanks for putting up with me while you try to get your Legendary Tales fix. Yeah, look, I do have some regulars, I would guess. My volume levels in my videos constantly are out and about. I've been playing with a lot of audio equipment and rotating it around. Over the last week, I had done the promise in my last video, which is I'm going to sort that out. I sorted that out. I wasn't happy with the sorted out result, so I've had to come back at it. Yesterday I put a lot of effort in setting things up, but I've had to go to a different setup. I've lost my ability to dial in a specific number and have my mixing just perfect. So it's back to being a little bit analog, looking at a little green dot on a volume dial, trying to get it to about a particular spot on the volume dial, and if I get it right on the money, my mixing should be good. Now, I am aware that my CD source is a bit louder than my PlayStation source, so that's good. And in a moment, when we start the game, that's had more than 30 seconds. In a moment, when we start the game, we should find that the volumes are all right, that I've got controllers that run long enough to actually play. Right, so I'll put my phone back on charge. No surprise, hotspot running out of juice on us. Alright. So, inside the next 2 minutes, I'm going to turn my overhead light off. In the meantime, pretty good. Just before I turn that off, I should do that. Alright. Yep, happy with that. Wow, it's locked me out again. It's going review your surroundings and clear any obstacles. I've got my lockout in the top corner of the screen again. It won't bring up my controller's information. I can't control anything on the screen. Oh no, this isn't good. Okay, so I hadn't hit any buttons. It was in the background trying to check. In the background, it was trying to check for updates, and then it finally came good. But this, if this was a PC, you would know it's not running the way it should be running. You would be smart enough to hit reboot, right? The load time to get to this menu was too long. It's now going crookedy saying PSVR2 Sense Controller 2 is very low. Trying to warn me. Look, I'd rather take out another character, to be honest. I'll put multi on, I'll put host on. Yeah, why not? Okay, but a couple of things. One is I've still got to get my music and swap my sound source over. I've got to get my light off. If I'm going to host a game and run it through my mobile phone, right, how about I put my phone in 5G mode? That makes sense. Make the network as quick as possible. Right. Make my network as fast as possible makes sense. Alright, so smooth as. Swimming over here, losing my overhead light. Okay, so I've got a couple of spotlights, red and green, coming on me. I should look half decent in the corner of the screen. And then we've got this beautiful game loop with the emission of sound. Sound not being right. I think that's it. No, might be the next one across. That should be it. Maybe if I hit that up, no. Right. I need one extra moment then. That's right. There we go. Apologies, I do run a setup that's a bit different to the standard. Of that there is no doubt. Right, the lines tell me there's a table there. I'll put the remote down. Put my gloves on. Okay, this is my kick-ass gloves. My stamina bar actually becomes a makeshift health bar if I take a death blow, is my understanding. So that's kind of cool. Let's have a look. We've got multiplayer on. I'm going to mute my microphone in game. We'll see how that pans out for us. For some reason I haven't got my katana on my left there. It looks like it's managed to get to the inventory. Away. Alright. There's a few other good weapons there. Tell you what, I'll lock off anything that's worth keeping. And sell anything that isn't. Some of these are better than the average. +2 luck. This one you don't see every day. Alright, so just locked everything there off appropriately. Alright, that stuff's all locked off, I agree. Select all, yep, sell, gone. I would call that a neat inventory. I can put my shield away. Right. Okay. So I can hear how genuinely soft the mixing level is. That means that this will be one of the clearest videos with regards to my voice. It's been really easy to pick up. Okay, so stereoscopic rendering. Right? Now, I gather that I'm recording onto an OLED screen. The contrast is set up pretty well, but you won't see the intersecting planes there, the corner of that room, which is just about in pitch blackness. Now, on this screen, with such a large field of view and my eyes, the ability to look into a dark area and adjust to it, I can see that the fine brickwork and the grout in between, I think it's called grout, it's not really grout, it's brickwork, but I can see everything, and from watching, I guess, proofing my videos and seeing what the share screen actually shows, I think it comes down to field of view. So as I come back from that, and the light is no longer filling so much as the screen, the sense of a misty depth into that zone is quite detectable. When you've got an art team that's come up with a masterful, really put together the design right, knowing what the equipment is that it's going to get played on, you know, the capabilities of the end user system, they can build a setup that works. And so in other videos I've alluded to good 3D, good stereoscopic needs a close point, midpoint, far point for the brain to easily detect or to render, to interpret the distances. Oh, you guys getting a bit kerfuffled. Oh, that's it. Right, so this game, because it puts the torches in the right spot and has things just pop out of shadows and always be there right in front of you, it gets that sense of pop, and it really is well done. Now, I gather on the share screen, this cliff in front of me, where my sword is just moving up and down in front of, is actually quite dark. And you generally don't see what's in front of it too clearly. But see, I'm looking at this going, well, how is that even possible? To me, this looks raised brightness to where I normally have it. In-game, even, so it makes me think the share screen must have to be the same. Alright. And when enemies have a randomised bit of health and my weapons do a randomised bit of damage, not knowing exactly when the kill blow is going to land makes the game totally fun. So one of the adjustments I made is I got rid of the user interface feedback where it shows the health bars. And I find it a better game for that. I did the same in Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's a hard game. Without health bars. I was fighting like an ogre or something at night time, had a couple extra people with me, and the fight felt like it went on for half an hour. And don't get me wrong, I was a fairly low level character, and my pawns were fairly low level pawns. But we were helping a couple of brothers to get back to town, so we had a party of about 5, or like a much larger party than is typical. And I thought I would have had a fairly easy time taking out this particular new enemy that had turned up. And oh, that battle just raged on and on and on. But without having a health bar for me to tell, you know, I really had the joy of like, oh, it's got to be dead, you know. And the fight was epic. It had gone in and out of towns. We'd chased the thing out into the wilderness and try to take it down. But I mean, I expect anyone playing this game is considered Dragon's Dogma, because spiritually they're about as close to each other as you can possibly get in terms of Dragon's Dogma in the late 90s, early 2000s when it came out on the original PS2 version. It was in a fairly crowded RPG market. Hard, proper RPG market. Right? Until Oblivion came out and dumbed down what we had with Morrowind, and the Elder Scrolls crew, Bethesda, kept realising that every time you dumbed down an RPG and made it accessible by more people, you sold more than just 5% niche of the market, which is typically what hardcore RPGs were. But Dragon's Dogma was, in a game time when we had games like Bait and Chaos on GameCube that had an inventory management system where items aged, Dragon's Dogma looked like one of any bunch of RPGs that were on the market. And the reality was, it had a fight engine. It was made by Capcom, who did beat 'em ups in the arcade. I mean, Sega was responsible for Golden Axe, but I mean, if you just think of how many arcade games that Capcom are responsible for, I'm not talking Mega Man, it's not really arcade. Capcom are just the masters of your arcade game, right? Street Fighter anyway. But I mean, Final Fight, if you wanted your brawler, a bit like Golden Axe, arguably. I think I'm right there, Capcom, weren't they? But Capcom are the masters of the arcade beat 'em up. And so when they made an RPG that was an arcade beat 'em up, right, Dragon's Dogma, it hadn't really been done. You know, it was the most fun. It had the best combat engine for button presses. People who liked, hand dexterity and win in the fight rather than crunching RPG numbers. It was the game, so it's taken a while for there to be a sequel to it, and they kind of came out of nowhere. That's what I really like. But the team's been working on a game for what could be quite a while, and then here it is, nearly finished. Sort of 6 months worth of heads up to one of the games that people would really, really look forward to. Now that being said, because it was a bit of a niche game back in the day, a lot of people don't want to play a game unless they've played the game before it. Going, oh, I don't want to have missed anything, will it affect my gameplay? No, not at all. But anyway, Dragon's Dogma, brilliant game. So playing the sequel, which as I say, is spiritually about as close as you can get to this game, because the fight engine is fast and fun. And probably talking about the elephant in the room, my understanding is the console version is probably 30 frames a second. And as a gamer, I've got a PC that it's about 2.5 times the grunt of the console. and I'm actually gaming on a 1080 projector. So if anybody had reason to run ray tracing at 60 frames a second, 1080 res, and could do it, you know, it'd probably be me. I'm not saying nobody in the world could do it, yeah, but it's a small percentage of people that can do it, and also have the chops that have been tuning games for PC for decades to actually figure out what settings to run so the game just reliably sits at 60. The reason I don't PC game is the platform that they're sitting on, which is Microsoft Windows, is so horrible that it destroys gaming for me. There's no enjoyment in it, there's no reliability in the platform, and I don't find it a relaxing, entertaining experience. So I moved on from PC gaming. But playing a game like Dragon's Dogma on console, you could say that the console plebs, you know, that I can't use my keyboard and mouse for precision shots on my arrows or whatever. You know, I'm on a control or whatever. But it's a great game, and it is running at 30 frames a second, but you wouldn't know it. And there's a couple of things that comes down to. I mean, you'd know it if you had a, you know, if you pan the camera and look at objects right on the outside of the edge of the camera while you're turning the camera, you can see the update rate on the blur that's applied to them. It's not fast, right? But outside of that, you're not really picking the fact that it's 30 frames a second combat. And it's because any game that has an animation engine that makes it so that when you hit a button, it doesn't do it straight away, right? There's an inherent lag built into it anyway. So this argument that, I can't, you know, I don't like the latency of my button, of my inputs, making it, you know, responding to my button press. So you could argue at 90 frames or 100 frames a second that responsiveness, that response time when you hit a button to when you see the change is less. But when the game is built from the ground up to be 30 frames a second with a fight engine that is just tuned perfectly and feels super responsive, and it's super responsive, you don't feel that you're being held back. And I mean, I've done some pretty intense fights on it, and it doesn't drop frames. That's the important thing, is it's just so solid that it's not an issue. So, I mean, I've got the option of gaming it on my PC. I choose to game on console. Why? Because it's a reliable, easy experience. You know, I don't want easy to sound like I'm lazy. It's meant to be entertainment. I don't want my entertainment to be a big burden. So if I was playing this game on PC, a Windows update could have come through before I started. Anything could have happened. The makers of the platform wouldn't care whatsoever about limiting me based on controllers being charged, etc. Like, there'd be none of the things in the safeguards in place that look after the end user. And it is a bit of a cowboy platform. You really do feel like you're in the Wild West, but it's Frontier's town, and that there's no quality of life guarantee in place because nobody's really keeping track or monitoring what's going on over there. When I game in the console space, I can rely 100% on the experience. And so, quite a few of the big games in the last couple of years, I opted for to play on console because it just works. Just works well. And is enjoyable, therefore. Oh, now I should probably just check. Okay, that's stayed muted. This has been patched. Bullshit, I'm still on the same version. I'm still on the same version. I think they've put out a hotfix. They've put out a hotfix. That was an issue. Look, my take on this is that the developers, Urbanwolf, have actually put out an unofficial patch called a hotfix. You don't actually have to submit it to Sony. It'd be just a little bit of information that downloaded or came through when I was on the net and loaded the game. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I'm experiencing in game, there's been a few little things that I see as a little bit different. And at first I thought I was imagining a few of them, but things that have been an issue ever since this version came out seem to not be an issue right now. I mean, I could be wrong. I'd like to be wrong. I don't mind being wrong. Wrong is good. Wrong is where we learn. You know, I'm that guy at work that loves making errors and being accountable for it. That's how I get feedback from management and people above me as to how to improve and get better, how to not do that again. Errors are great. Yeah, it's a learning journey. But yeah, look, my guess is it's had a hot fix. I mean, again, could be wrong. Previously, for the first week of this patch coming out, if you came into the players list and came off the screen and went back to it, your microphone would unmute. And it's not doing it. And the reason why that would have been a hotfix is that was an essential. We've got to fix this fix. But, you know, it could just be that I had a really weird gimped gaming session that just got it wrong a couple of times, about 5 times, and then it just got good. Like we're meant to. If you play games, get going. So I just want to throw my sword at them. It's very doable to do that. But it is a lot of fun. I don't find that combat ever has to be the same way twice. It's as creative as you wish to be. And so when you play a multiplayer game, you're going to see 3 or 4 different personalities all, you know, fight different weapons and different weapon styles or different methods. Imagine there's people out there that have done fencing in their life and just choose one type of weapon and like to, you know, show off their repartee with a particular. Anyway. Tough crystal. So I think they draw them before you can interact with them, and you never want to remove a player of having agency in the game. It's just one of those things that just makes you kind of feel like you're waiting a second or so for the game to catch up with what's actually going on. It's sort of not indicative of the gameplay. Just perfect otherwise. Throw me sword at him. If you want to stand there, dude, I'll take you off with his head. Right, so then wait 2 seconds. Yeah, so master team, light all the way through in the right spot, great platform, being on a particular platform, certain amount of reliability, and yeah, I think Legendary Tales is a really fun game. It is Dragon's Dogma, but more in the fight engine, you know, a lot more arcadey, a lot perfect, arguably. The reason I always pick on Skyrim VR when playing this game is that Skyrim VR was never built to be this game. People want it to be this game, but it isn't, and it never will be. And it mostly comes down to the fact that it was built from the ground up to be a desktop experience. So it hasn't got a physics-based combat system built in. It hasn't got really any physics engines that work off the freedom in movement, that I could be halfway through this swing and just go change my mind and then just do a different swing, right? So you can be doing one thing and then go, oh, that's it. And there's not the console games with the beat 'em up systems. So in Skyrim, if you want to do a particular hit, you hit an X button, right? You might do that. If you hit forward in the X button, you might do a big power hit, you know? You hit to the left in the X button and you might do a side swap. And so there is variety in terms of the combat maneuvers you can execute. But there's not total freedom, and if you're halfway through that maneuver, you don't have the freedom to change it up. So yeah, this is the better version of Dragon's Dogma combat engine. A lot more freedom. So yeah, this is the immersive 3D version of it, arguably. But if you want a super pretty HDR 10 gameplay experience with lots of voice acting and all that stuff going on, and a party to manage and offline play only, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a pretty perfect game. It's getting a lot of negative press. It should be a 10 out of 10 rated game. Its negative press is coming down from some microtransactions in it that I'll do it. that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Yeah, this is the joy of not having health bars above everyone's head. Yes, the run button. Oh shit, I'm in trouble. I don't think I'm going to do this. Know where I'm going. Oh, then there's two more behind me. I'm going to have to route up there. Right, so this isn't a particularly hard zone. But being here by myself, slightly leveled up. I'm just hoping nothing comes up behind me, but this is all the enemies from this area. Looks like it is. Without my headphones on, I don't have that sense of surround sound, so I can hear stuff coming up behind me. Another one down. Right, so I've probably got control of it now. I'll probably do this. Now, this is what I was saying about not having health bars on the screen. That changes the immersiveness quite a lot. I've not leveled up these ice blocks. These literally are doing such small amounts of damage. Woohoo! Get up. Shake it, shake it. Alright. Yeah, between last week's, the last patch we had and the patch 2 patches ago, and the patch we currently got, I believe that the window of time from when I dropped an object to when I picked it up again was a little bit more open. I'll give an example. So if I go to drop that, if I just hit down on my trigger, if I pick it up, whoa, what was that music about? Hello. Figured I went up some levels. I saw a little thing shine. There, hit points 1 of 70. Right, so a regular person, a smart person wouldn't blow. Oops, put that away. I mean, I'll pick up these coins, but cast a portal and get back to town. Right. Ah, Alexander.
Do any of you got boy Tartarus gloves?
No, I don't have. Tell me again. Right, refugee camp. As soon as I got my health up, I'm gonna go hit a portal. Oh, Xander, your sword looks amazing. I feel very confident travelling with such a capably dressed, capably covered adventurer. Who also needs a health bar. Yes, alright. I missed it by a split second. Eli Berserker, I was right on ya. And I've lost all people from the play party. Alright. So it might be I've got a poor internet connection. It could be that my microphone having been turned off again, randomly, or turned back on, I should say. My mute of the microphone had, for whatever reason, just got unmuted. Couldn't tell when. Didn't know other players had joined in. Oh, that might have been some of those sound effects that I was trying to look forward, trying to figure out, so that's good. Maybe I paid. Oh! I was back. Hello? Yes. You had a portal up. I was just about to walk through it and it disappeared. It's like, and then there was no one in the game. Look, Eli, while you're here in town, actually, I'm going to exit the game. It seems unstable on my side. I'm guessing. Did you want to wave at me if it was really latent? Was it all the enemies you were fighting? Were they teleporting around on the screen, or you'd swing at something and you'd have to wait a moment to find the damage hit? Because I'm in Australia, I'm in Western Australia, and I'm going through a mobile phone for internet, so I'm guessing that you had a pretty poor experience. That things, there might have been latency. Okay, well you're off. Well, sorry Eli, I'm winding down the game. I'm guessing my microphone isn't communicating, so I'm just going to exit now. I do say thank you for being here. Right, save my menu. Okay, so anyone at home, I cut that super short. Oh, facing the wrong way. I love this game. Get routed around in my room. I always get a bit concerned if I'm watching multiplayer gamers drop in and out of my session. If I put my phone up in a spot where I've got 5 bars of reception, I don't have that happening. If I leave my phone in a spot where I've got 2 bars of reception, like I have now, I seem to get players come and go. So yeah, this is just me trying to be a scientist, trying to learn a little bit. Very short video today, I guess. There was more music at the start and not really gameplay happening. But look, I'll put it up just for some more footage of this game on the net. Anyone who watches my videos will realise that I'm only doing very entry-level stuff on the camera, just so that if you come and play the game, you're not going to see all this cool, areas of the game that would be nice if they surprised you as well. Same with just enemies, right? Every time I read online about, I wish there was more enemy diversity. And I recall the first 5 or 6 or 7 enemies I was coming across in the game, and I was trying on my fingers to count to 3. And I went through school, I've learned how to count higher than 3, and I counted a lot higher than 3 inside of my first few hours of gameplay, and just realised that there's a constant mix-up strategy. And I'm not talking just palette swaps, right? And palette swaps, and and creatures getting different outfits and then being spellcaster versions of them and stuff, diversity. But yeah, when I play the videos, I like to just do the opening area because the gameplay itself is infinitely fun, and I could do it all day long, every day. Maybe not. This is an exercise session, a bit of Tai Chi, maybe, Legendary Tales. Okay, so look, just so people don't think I've given up making videos, the last couple of videos I put out, I thought my dialogue through them was a little bit wanky, the volume levels were all mixed a bit wrong. I didn't want to put up another video that was like a bit of a bump bow. So my video's a bump bow already. So if I myself say that's a bit C grade for my liking, even to publish. It's like, yeah, I didn't. But I kept it as one on the barrel instead of firing it, or even seeing it as a blank that might go, oh look, there's some sound. I went, oh cool, if I don't publish that, I'm going to take that as to improve the quality of what I'm making. So that video would work if I put little text up on the screen each time I made a verbal error and just went, oh yeah, I meant to say blah 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 right there. Yeah, it'd work. But anyone watching these videos, they just want to hear that music. They just want to see that gameplay. It's amazing. Legendary Tales, one of the best purchases I've made in video gaming in my entire life. That's as someone that was paying $60 for Pac-Man in the 70s on an Atari 2600. In the local market, games at the moment sell for about $130. I've bought $400 games 30 years ago for Neo Geo, and more, you know, by the time you land at the import costs. When you look at games in the local market selling for up to $130, Dragon's Dogma is about $120 something dollars. Any game that's well below $100 is a bit of a bargain. There's a few developers out there that do discounts all the time, and therefore their software is worthless. You look at developers like Larian, who make Divinity Original Sin and more recently Baldur's Gate 3. And in the 3 or 4 years or 5 years that game was in early access, it got a 10% discount occasionally, and that's about the best discount you've ever seen on that product, right? When you see a company value their software and not just hose it after 3 months and just sell it off cheap, right? You've got software that's worth something. Legendary Tales is software that's worth something, right? Did I need to buy Dragon's Dogma? I didn't. Did I have any interest in buying Dragon's Dogma? Yeah. But I would have waited until it was really cheap, and if the local shop hadn't added me such a great trade-in offer to buy it right now, it'd just be on the to-do list. This game, Legendary Tales, would keep me entertained in the meantime. So I think it's exceptionally good value, but that's as a game that's probably been waiting for 30 or 40 years for a game like this to be realised. Ever since my first experience of immersive stereoscopic gaming, where your hands were your actual implements, this was the dream. It took about 30 years for it to come about, and a small team of people who have put the love in for about 5 years. Yeah, for a very long time, and they've achieved a vision that as a child I could only have just dreamed about. So whilst I think Legendary Tales is a reason to get into gaming, right, it's the proof of concept that actually shows what technology can give us in the modern world, and I think cost effectively. It should be a platform seller. You know, if you had to put a package of that and this software together in order to have that experience, yeah, it's good enough to pretty much stand its own. Right? There's a couple of games 20-something years ago that were like mech games, and you had to buy like a $400 American arcade stick with 2 joysticks on it in order to control your battlements, the same as in the arcades, right? And that's a normal thing, right? You double tap to the right, and your jump jets will shoot you over to the right. You need those twin joysticks. Right, some people build entertainment that needs the hardware to go with it, and the fact that there are other games you can play that use this hardware, right? It isn't just for a one-off purchase. Do I think Synth Riders and Pistol Whip and those sorts of games are essential to the platform? Yeah, I do. But if I was to own the platform and only had one game, without doubt, it would be Legendary Tales. Right? I wouldn't have to think about that answer, and I wouldn't be saying that just because it's a fairly new release. Without doubt, the one game I would choose if I was desert island disking it. Maybe not a desert island, if there was wildlife I had to be aware of. You know, you lose your sensory feedback when you're in another world. You know, if I was stuck on that island with someone else, like a partner, could keep an eye on me so I didn't walk off a cliff while playing. Legendary Tales. Right. Anyway, until the next one, I look forward to having you with me again then. If I don't, I understand. Bring my A game is really what you're saying by voting to not watch my videos. Yeah, it's alright. I appreciate that too. Any communication is good communication. With that, my feedback to Urbanwolf, thank you kindly. You've hit it out of the park. You've built the sort of game that I'm really wanting to play. I can only wish you continued success. And look, you've got a product with legs. You do have a product that is worth the full asking price, that will continue to pull that full asking price for a decade, with a little bit of marriage from your part to just keep taking it places. I've got about 3 A4 pages written out, double-sided, of A, things to fix, and B, small things you could implement that would grow this product. I personally think you really could continue to sell this product for a very long time. It is the go-to gold standard or reference for software of this caliber. So congratulations yet again. I'll always say thank you to you, but my real thanks is in the continued doing of these videos. Best we can do is word of mouth. Nobody's really aware that this software is out there. You know, people that are into this sort of game aren't actively looking for this type of game. They're not expecting it, right? But anyone that's experienced this game knows that it's what everybody at their tabletop role-playing game that they've ever been to probably wants access to. It is available. The fact that it meets the needs, it ticks so many boxes for what gamers might crave in a game like this. Yeah, it's a must buy. But I don't need to do a forever long lead out. This is the sort of raving. This is the energy in my heart every moment I'm in one of these videos. I feel so joyous, and I feel this way because of the gift that has been given me, which is software that allows me to feel this way. All right. Well wishes with.